One of the biggest fears imaginable is being in a plane crash, and our next guest experienced this not once, but twice. Before we speak with him, take a look at his story.
I was 8 years old, and it was like devastating loss, obviously.
In 2003, Austin Hatch boarded a small plane headed to Fort Wayne, Indiana. His family was on board, and his dad was the pilot.
We're flying home from northern Michigan as we were preparing to land. The airplane unfortunately crashed, and tragically took the life of my mom, my sister, and my brother.
The plane struck a utility pole and crashed just after 8 p.m. in Uniondale, Indiana. Fire swept through the passenger compartment. Dr. Hatch would suffer severe burns.
Yeah, we tried. My dad and I kind of rebuilt our life and did the best that we could to keep living.
Austin's dad eventually remarries, and just as Austin's career in basketball starts to take flight, tragedy strikes again.
The second crash was 8 years later on June 24th, 2011, when we were actually flying to northern Michigan, this time the same place we were returning from 8 years earlier in the first plane crash. And again, it was bad weather and some pilot error, some mistakes my dad made, unfortunately. I was in a coma for 2 months after the second plane crash. You know, what can you do? What can you do?
Wow, unbelievable. Austin's dad and stepmom were killed in the second crash, and doctors said his injuries would be life-shattering. To tell us more, please welcome to DBL, Austin Hatch. Thank you.
Austin. So your second crash put you into a coma, and I want to ask, what were you told when you woke up from it? Did you know anything? Was there any memories at all?
Not really memories. I think I knew, I had an idea at least that something severe had happened, a tragedy had happened. I mean, I was in the hospital and I kind of processed that something had to happen. I wasn't really in a mental place to understand the severity and significance of everything that happened. But it was just, an unfortunate event, and blessed to come out of that coma though, for sure. Very blessed.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, also, I know it's very rare being in a plane crash. It's one of my biggest fears, actually, right? And you went through 2 of them. How were you able to push through this? And I got to know, have you been in a small plane since then?
So the second part of the question first. I haven't been in a small plane since, just because, it doesn't really make sense for me. I've been on some with some companies and stuff on their planes, but not like a prop plane. Mm-hmm. And I still love aviation, believe it or not. I'm fascinated by it. And obviously it was a big part of my life growing up. And statistically, it's safe. Flying is safer than driving. Mm-hmm. Statistically. Mm-hmm. And my life obviously doesn't prove that.
Right.
I still think you can't live in fear, right? And that kind of goes to your second question with flying. So I've got about 1 million miles on Delta Airlines.
Wow.
So I fly, it's part of my job. If I travel the country speaking, sharing my story and stuff. I love speaking, I love sharing my story, but people don't come to me. Companies don't fly to see me. I got to fly to go see them, obviously. Mm-hmm. So it's part of it, and I don't live in fear, and if the odds of another plane crash happening are very slim. Probably won't ever happen again, God willing, but if it does and I'm on board, it must be my time to go, because by the grace of God, I'm still here, and so I just try to not, can't live in fear though, right? Can't live in fear.
Love that.
Austin, I have a friend who is a pilot, and she was in a plane crash, and she always says, if it's not your day to die, nothing's going to kill you. And I think about that in so many different levels. And hearing your story, it's like I can't comprehend all of the loss that you've been through. Did you ever experience anything like survivor's remorse, and how do you work through that?
Yeah, not really. Just because, especially shortly after the second accident, I was injured so badly. I almost died, right?
Wow.
Very close to dying. And I was so focused on my recovery and just trying to get myself better so that I could have a life to live. And ultimately, make it to Michigan thanks to the incredible integrity of Coach Beeline. He honored my scholarship, and he actually came to see me in the hospital in Chicago when I couldn't walk. Wow. I might never have walked ever again, and he said, I can't wait to coach you someday. So I had a lot of work to do to get myself better. and be in a position to go to Michigan. But to this day, I mean, obviously, there's some of that, but I try to focus more on, you know, the opportunity. And I also feel like my family in heaven, they don't want me spending my days, you know, in the kind of survivor's remorse, survivor's guilt. I mean, it's obviously warranted, but I just try to be the best husband and best dad that I can possibly be. So
your resiliency, Austin, is unmatched, unbelievable. Thank you so much for being here with us today. DBL Nation, learn more about Austin's story and how he's helping others overcome adversity at austin-hatch.com. Thank you again.